Hey everybody. Today I'm going to show you guys how to use the diatonic exercises from the pitch only and pitch and rhythm series to help you practice reading and playing in every major and minor key. So I'm going to be playing on vibraphone to demonstrate, and that's a treble clef instrument. So I'll be using the treble clef versions of these books. And to start, I'm going to start with the pitch only treble clef exercise 1 of the On the Staff Diatonic chapter. So this is the first exercise in that book, and this exercise is available in the free sample book on the Dots of Beams website. So if you're interested in playing along, or if you want to see the exercise and try it out yourself, head over to the website, get that free sample book, and this exercise is part of that. For the sake of demonstration, I'm also just going to be using the very first staff on that page. When you're doing it yourself, I encourage you to use the whole page, or the whole book, frankly. But for the sake of demonstration, I'm just going to be using that very first line so you can get a sense of how this exercise changes the way that you can use the materials. So to start, when you look at the exercise, you'll see that there's no accidentals, there's no key signature, and this particular one, there's no reference to rhythm whatsoever. But in the space where a key signature would go, I've left that space blank. So you can read it as is. You can read it in C major, which I'll do first. And then you can apply a different key signature to it. So first of all, why don't you just hear how it sounds if I just play it all natural notes as if we're in C major. So now what we can do is we can go in and pencil in any key signature that we want and play it the exact same material, the exact same line, with no changes except the fact that we've put in a key signature. And that's going to change whatever notes that key signature affects. So for demonstration, I'm going to choose, let's say, E flat major. E flat major has 3 flats. It has B's flat, E's, and A's are all flat. So now I'm going to read the exact same line, and I'm not going to change anything except I'm going to put a key signature at the beginning, and I'm going to play the exact same written notes in accordance with that key signature. So now every time I see a B, an E, or an A in the line, I'm going to play it as flat rather than as natural, which is what I just did. So here's how that would sound. So that totally changes the shape of the exercise, right? So just for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to do it in another key. I did C major with no flats and sharps. I did E flat major with 3 flats. So I'm going to do A major with 3 sharps. So in A major, we have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp. Everything else is natural. So here's how it would sound in A major. So as you can see, that's a great exercise. I mean, especially if you expand it out to include all of the major scales and all of the minor scales. So that would be 15 major scales and 15 minor scales. And I know you might be thinking, well, you know, Western music is built on a 12-note scale, and each note within that scale gets its own major scale and minor scale. Therefore, shouldn't there be 12 major scales and 12 minor scales? Well, no. Because some of those have different enharmonic spellings of the same scale. So for example, if we look at G flat major and F sharp major, they both feel the same to play them on the instrument. They both use the exact same notes on the piano or on the vibraphone or on whatever instrument you happen to play. They use the exact same notes, but they're respelled. So the tonic of each key would be F sharp for the F sharp major scale, or G flat for the G flat major scale, but they're the same physical note on the piano or on whatever instrument you're playing. They're just respelled. They're spelled differently and they have a different name. And that's true of all of the notes within those scales. So to play it up and down the instrument might feel exactly the same, but since this is a reading exercise and an exercise in thinking about how different key signatures apply and how they affect the notes on the page, reading in F sharp major versus reading in G flat major is a very different experience, and it totally changes the exercise. And the same is true for D flat major and C sharp major. They're also enharmonic equivalents. They feel the same on the instrument, but to read them is totally different. as well as B major and C flat major. Totally different experience to read them, even though they play the same on the instrument. All of those major keys also have relative minor keys that follow the same principles. So we've got, enharmonic spellings of minor keys as well as major keys. So that brings us to a total of 15 major scales as well as 15 minor scales. So 7 flat keys, 7 sharp keys, and the key with no sharps or flats. So that gives you 30 different ways just in that you can read all of the exercises that we just talked about. So this also applies to the pitch and rhythm series. So the pitch and rhythm series is entirely diatonic exercises, meaning you can apply a key signature to every single one of the exercises in that series of books. And just for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to do that for one exercise. So I'm going to use the difficulty level 4 exercise 3 from the Treble Clef version of the pitch and rhythm series. And this again is also available as part of the free sample book. So when you get the free sample book, it'll be part of that as well. You'll be able to see this exercise and play along. And for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to do it in the exact same 3 keys that I did the pitch only exercise. So I'm going to do it in C major, which is no sharps or flats. I'm going to do it in E flat major, which has 3 flats, and I'm going to do it in A major, which has 3 sharps, just so you can hear how these all compare and how they contrast with each other when we put them into different contexts. So yeah, here's how this is going to sound. So what makes this possible to do all of these exercises and all these different key signatures is the fact that there's no reference in any of these exercises to specific harmonic movement. There's no cadences, there's no specific chord changes or chord progressions. So they're designed specifically to kind of be meandering and wandering. The pitch only series is designed to be as random as possible, and the pitch and rhythm series is designed to be meandering, so that it kind of feels like a standard melody, but it doesn't ever really quite follow a certain harmonic language. So that leaves the door open so that all of them can be used equally well in all of the different key signatures. But that might leave you asking the question, what's the difference then between doing the exercise in a major mode or in its relative minor? Wouldn't they be exactly the same? So for example, if we played it in E flat major, which we did earlier, it has 3 flats. What's the difference then between playing it in E flat major with 3 flats or C minor, which is the relative minor of E flat major, which also has 3 flats? If we're following just the key signature, aren't they going to sound exactly the same? Yes, they absolutely are going to sound exactly the same. So here's some things that we can do so that they don't feel exactly the same. Well, first of all, when we're giving our students these exercises, or if we're doing these exercises ourselves, we still have to do the calculation when we're asked to play it in F sharp minor. We still have to do the calculation to figure out what the key signature is. So there's still value in doing it this way, because we still are held accountable for knowing what the key signature of the key that we're given is. So there is still value there. But another thing that we can do is we can play these in different forms of the minor scale. So we can play them in the harmonic minor. So if I were to play this exercise in C harmonic minor, it would be different from E flat major, because in C harmonic minor, we're raising that 7th scale degree. So instead of B's, E's, and A's being flat, we're going to have B, E, and A flat in the key signature, but every time we get to a B, we're going to raise it back to a B natural. So then we'd be playing E's and A's flat, but B's we're keeping in our mind that we're always going to be playing them natural to make that raised 7th scale degree. Similarly, we could play these exercises in the ascending form of the melodic minor. So we would have to think the 6th and 7th scale degrees are going to be raised. Even though the key signature says something otherwise, we need to keep in mind that we're going to be raising the 6th and 7th scale degrees as we play it. And this is an excellent exercise to get your kids, your students, or yourself really familiar with how all of these different scales operate in terms of which notes are even available to you at any given time. So there's a way that we can really ramp this up and differentiate between the minor and the major, but also give other variations, other permutations of how we can use this material. So a great exercise that I do with my theory students is I'll actually write down on slips of paper all of the keys that I know that they're working on at any given time, major or minor. And I'll cut them up and I'll put them into a hat, and they'll have to draw out of the hat 1 or 2 keys and play these exercises in the key that they draw out of the hat. And this is great as a teacher because you can really limit what keys are available to them. If they're not working on 6 sharps or 6 flats, then you can leave those out of the hat. But also if they're the kind of student who will always gravitate towards practicing the things that they're good at and sort of not push themselves to work on things that they're not quite so good at, this allows you to just omit those from the hat, so they don't even have the option of continually practicing the thing that they're really strong with and not moving forward. You can really focus it on just the things that you want them to move forward with. So it's a great exercise in that way. And yeah, if your students can manage to get through both of these books in major, minor, harmonic minor, melodic minor, from cover to cover, I mean, they're going to be in a really good position. For all 15 key signatures in all of those forms, they're going to be in a really good position. So yeah, lots to work on. Have fun with that.